Downsizing has almost nothing to do with your house, and that's exactly why so many people get it wrong. Because they start solving the wrong problem first. And most of the people I work with are not just buying or selling a house, they're trying to figure out what comes next. Today I want to talk about downsizing, but not in the way you usually hear it. Because most conversations around downsizing focus on the transaction, selling the house, finding a smaller one, timing the market. But in reality, downsizing is a decision problem long before it's a real estate process. For most people, downsizing doesn't start with a clear decision. It starts with a quiet realization. Maybe the house feels bigger than it used to. Maybe rooms aren't being used anymore. Maybe maintenance feels heavier than it once did. Or maybe life has just shifted. Travel sounds more appealing than yard work. And somewhere in that, a question starts forming. Does this house still fit our life? That question is actually the beginning of the downsizing process. Not calling an agent, not looking at listings, just that moment of awareness. The biggest mistake I see is people jumping straight from that question into action. They start browsing homes, they talk to friends, but they haven't actually made the decision yet, and that creates a lot of unnecessary stress because now they're trying to solve a logistical problem without first solving the decision. What I always tell clients is this: before we talk about selling your home, we need to understand whether moving is actually the right decision for you. Not just financially, but practically, emotionally, logistically. Downsizing is often framed as getting a smaller house, but that's not really what it is. Downsizing is about aligning your home with your current life. For some people, that does mean less square footage. For others, it means a different layout. For others, it means being closer to family or in a neighborhood that requires less upkeep. And sometimes, interestingly, downsizing doesn't even mean going smaller. It just means going simpler. Less maintenance, less complexity, fewer things to manage. So the real question isn't what smaller house should we buy? It's what kind of home supports the life we want next. When I work with someone who's considering downsizing, we spend a lot of time on a few key questions. Not because they're complicated, but because most people haven't taken the time to think them through clearly. Here are a few of the most important ones. What does your day-to-day life look like right now? What do you want it to look like in the next 3 to 5 years? What parts of your current home still serve you well? What parts feel like friction? And one of the most important, if you stayed in this house for another 5 years, how would that feel? That question alone often brings a lot of clarity. One of the reasons downsizing feels overwhelming is because it's rarely just one move. It's often several things happening at once. You might be selling your home, buying another one, helping a parent transition into assisted living, or supporting an adult child buying their first home. These transitions tend to overlap, and without a clear plan, it can feel chaotic. This is where structure becomes really important. Timelines, checklists, clear steps, not to rush the process, but to make it feel manageable. A question I hear a lot is, should we wait? Wait for the market to improve? Wait for rates to change? Wait for the perfect time? And the honest answer is, timing matters less than clarity, because I've seen people wait for years trying to optimize timing. And in that time, their needs changed. Their stress increased, opportunities passed. The right time to move is usually when the decision becomes clear, not when the market becomes perfect. When downsizing is done well, it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel chaotic. It feels structured. You understand your options. You know what comes next, and you feel like you're making decisions, not reacting to them. Not just to move, but to move in a way that feels calm, organized, and predictable. If you're thinking about downsizing, you don't need all the answers today. You don't need to know exactly where you're going. You don't even need to be sure that moving is the right decision yet. What you need is space to think clearly. Because once that becomes clear, everything else becomes much simpler. Downsizing isn't about getting out of a house. It's about moving into the next phase of your life with intention, and that starts with the right decision.